We're always happy to have Dr. Charles Chamblee back in the studio with us. And you've actually got some advice on how to deal with something everyone's going through at this point. So what are we talking about today?
We've seen so much violence and so much hate throughout society recently, whether it's on the West Coast and the nightclub, whether it's on the East Coast and the synagogue. So we're going to talk about how to move from hate to hope and what are some ways that we can all improve our society a bit.
Really important, great stuff. So that'll be good for us to talk about. Some important information for everyone at home as well. Unfortunately, there's so much hate in the world, but Dr. Chamblee, you're going to give us some advice on how to move from hate to hope coming up. And we're going to hear all about that after this break, so stay with us.
Live from the KATV River Market Studio in downtown Little Rock, this is Channel 7 Good Afternoon Arkansas with Alicia Dover, Ansley Watson, and weather with meteorologist Barry Brand.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We have Dr. Charles Chamblee, and he is joining us to talk about the culture of change, going from change, of hate. This is something that's not always easy to talk about.
No.
There's a lot of crazy things happening right now in our society, and so this is kind of the topic that we're talking about today. So
Sure.
Where do you want to start off?
Whether it's the political climate that we live in, whether it's the violence that we see, there's just a lot of hate in the world. And so many people find it much easier to hate than to work toward hope. Because at hate, you can do that from a distance. I don't have to encounter you and still hate you. But if we're going to move to hope, it requires interacting with somebody, somebody who maybe you don't think like, or maybe you don't feel like you want to be around. But there are some basic steps that we can all do to do that. First of all, listen. So many people just want to talk instead of listen. And you go back to the statement your grandmother made, there's a reason God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, is so that you listen more, but not just hear what somebody's saying, truly listen to what they're saying. It is such a valuable thing to truly listen to what somebody's saying, and not only the words they're saying, but the heart behind what they're saying. I think if we start there, even if we disagree with somebody, just showing the basic respect will oftentimes change the tone of the conversations that we have.
Also with social media, the last decade or so, I feel like this is something that really has amplified a lot of people speaking their opinion but not listening to other people's. Do you think that that's something that's kind of amplified all of this?
Absolutely. So many people hide behind a computer screen. I can throw darts at you from a distance and don't have to encounter you or see you at all. And we see that vitriol just increase such large levels that if we could try to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, try to understand what they're coming from, what their life has been, then it would make such a huge difference. One other thing we could do is work toward compromise. Is there anywhere we can compromise? Is there any way that I can go, well, I don't agree with a lot of what you say, but I can figure out that one thing. And then if we begin to work from there, just making one compromise, again, can change the tones of those conversations so many times. And then I come back to one of the basic cultures I grew up in, which was I grew up in a church setting. And so I can remember from the very beginning, one of the verses saying, as much as it is up to you, try to live at peace with everyone. And peace is not just the absence of conflict, it's the ability to get along with somebody in a way that you could live with them day in and day out. We don't do that a lot. I throw my bombs at you verbally and then run. Where if I'm trying to interact with somebody on a daily basis, trying to do life with them, that's going to change the tone of my conversations a whole lot. And so if we could take some simple steps like that, try to listen to people, try to understand where they're coming from, try to understand why they are so serious and so intense about their position, then it would go a long way toward changing that culture from hate, hopefully, to a little bit of hope.
Okay, so in this last minute we have here, when all of these crazy things are happening, we just had that mass shooting in California. What are your tips for people trying to deal with that, even at a distance like we are here in Arkansas from California? What are your tips there?
Yeah, so first of all, don't try to handle that alone. So many people just try to, I call it turtling. They pull inside their turtle shell and just try to hide from everything. The world's going to continue to be there. And so find help to be able to do that. Don't try to deal with that alone. Don't recluse. Don't stay away from things just because bad things happen. That's exactly what people who do violence want to see happen. They want to see people get away from it. So we've got to continue to live life, but don't do it alone. That's the number one thing.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. You always have such great advice. Now you can contact Dr. Chamblee by email, which is crchamblee@practice-plus.com. You can also give him a call at the number you see there on your screen. Once again, thank you so much for being here. Some great advice for all of us having to deal with all the craziness of our world.